What's good, homies? I'm 60. This is PEZ, and this is the Forthwrite Podcast.
Welcome. We're feeling a little bit more special this week. We did a little bit of a test pilot last week at my joint, and this week Thomas at Colossal Studios has let us use his beautiful space here and going to produce the podcast for us. So feeling a bit more professional now, babe. What do you reckon?
A lot more slick looking now.
Yeah.
We got it going.
Feels slick.
Ready
Feels
to rumble.
Like people should really be tuning in now. You got to focus. But yeah, so welcome. It's good to have everyone with us. Hopefully there's someone out there watching, listening, and come on the journey with us. We're going to go back through this 15 odd years in the game, babe.
Has it been 15?
Must have been, man. Because I just did that 15-year anniversary for A Mind of My Own.
Man,
which made it real.
Yeah.
Made it very real. And we were putting out them mixtapes before that, so we've come full circle, babe.
Wow, that was 15 years. So that was 15 years from the festival song, is that right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Dude, that is crazy. I felt like it was only 11 years or 12 years.
Yeah.
Man, it's been about 7 years, I think, since I've dropped an album.
Really?
I think it was 2017.
Wow, so that's the same thing. 7 years went that quick.
Yeah, man.
That's hectic.
Wild. So the last time I dropped music, I put out those 6 songs about 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I put out a mixtape as well, but actually releasing an album, it's been a long time.
Yeah, wow. And then how is that feeling? That feels like one of the real important questions to sort of unpack. Like how do you feel leading into this? Are there nerves? Are you excited? And then I guess how's that changed to how it maybe used to feel back in the day?
It's like for this album, it's nothing but excitement. It's just like I'm so amped to get it out. Mm-hmm. With the older music, it felt like that too. I was just so excited to get it out. Although I went through a bit of fear with Falling and Flying about what people were going to think because I was making such a shift in my sound. Like going the real poppy direction, coming from the real kind of raw underground sort of, and then going from what you see is what you get to that.
Yeah.
I was I knew that it was going to cause me to be very outcasted from the Oz hip hop scene. Mm-hmm. But man, it's really interesting thinking back about those 6 songs that I released when I had such a big hiatus after Vintage Modern. That was very difficult. Like I haven't really been that nervous to put myself out there before, never felt scared or worried about what people were going to think. But then with those songs,
I remember you hit me up about it actually and just being like, which one? And I was like, I think go with it like a strong song, and that like you made me like this. I was like, that feels like a jam, like just go. And also just that reassurance for you of like, man, you got to just like lean into the fear. It means you're onto something. Like this is actually good. Like when you're that terrified and you kind of, because I felt like I'd had experience with that where I like turned away from it and you listen to the fear and you start doing what other people tell you should do or what you think the world wants, and it's like, oh, it's so gross when that happens. So the fact that you just lean into it with faith, and it kind of then all started to work out.
It was like I was convinced though that putting out those songs was going to ruin my career.
So are you talking Falling and Flying or you made me like this?
Made me like this and all that.
Yeah,
it's like Falling and Flying just took my career off and went into this upwards trajectory. And when I went to rehab and went through all that process of trying to fix myself, coming back out and putting myself out there again, I was just convinced, this is just not good enough. All these songs, I thought they were cool, but they didn't feel like they were golden like some of my old stuff was, I didn't feel like it was going to launch me up into the stratosphere again. But I was like, if I don't do this, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah,
so it's
totally.
like I had to promise myself, no matter how these songs turn out, I'm just going to release them regardless. And I think that's really important because a lot of people do get in their head where it's like it has to be perfect.
Totally, yeah.
Very easy to fall into that, but just simply releasing those songs, it was like the support that came from it.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Was the opposite of what I expected. I thought it was
It's amazing.
Thought it was going to ruin my career. And then it was just like people really getting behind it, then being able to actually tour just simply off those songs.
Yeah, and then you got to reconnect and feel people, the energy of them there.
Yeah. But the touring was tough too. Like it was like everything that I used to be. I used to be like never nervous about getting on stage. I used to have this like feel like it would make me come out of my shell and be so confident. And then suddenly I'm up there and I'm looking at myself through everyone else's eyes and I'm being very critical. It's like all my movements, I was like, felt stiff and unnatural. It just felt like the whole thing was like, if this is what performing is going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
And that's like the polar opposite to me, where it was like, that's what it always felt like for me at the start and why I didn't want to do it. And then you were just like such a natural with it that it was like, yeah, it was kind of, I mean, this is the risk of drugs and all this stuff that people don't understand. They're so glorified and you think about all the highs, but it's like what it can take from you, like on the other side. That's like literally what it felt like. You lose that zest, that the thing that made you was kind of, which is coming back, which is why it's so beautiful. You like watching that life force come back and you like fight off the demons or whatever. But it was like, well, I guess it was actually, I could be helpful for you there because I was like, man, I know exactly how it feels. I never would have thought that you would be going through it because it just seemed like such an effortless thing for you to do, writing and performing. And you always seem so fearless about it all. So it's, how has that felt then? So do you feel like there's progress there? Like, is that still, like when you're going on stage in the more recent tours, has that been subsiding and you're starting to love it again? Or is it still very terrifying? Do you go back and forth? Like what's the...
It depends how I've slept, and I have to go to the gym and really smash myself beforehand.
Right.
When I'm on tour, you know how it's just so tiring.
Definitely, yeah.
Trying to come out of your shell when you're just so cooked is very difficult. But
Definitely.
Compared to those, so it was like the first major city tour I did, then the first regional one, they were bad. It felt just horrible. The whole thing was like, oh, this is so unnatural. I do not like this at all. And then...
Was that just internal though? So as far as the response from the crowd, they're still going great. Everyone thinks it's wonderful, but inside your own head, it's like torment type thing.
Yeah. Everyone's like, you smashed it. That was amazing, you know? And I'm like, there's no way that was good. Like, surely I would have looked uncomfortable, you know?
Yep.
And then after that though, it started, those nerves just started to subside. It was like I was starting to get that light back. It was like I was in the tunnel of darkness. There was a light at the end of the tunnel that I was crawling towards, and I knew that I had to just go through this process to get there. Yeah,
totally.
I think, working through that, and now it's like you kind of reach that light and it just starts building up and up and up, and now it's gotten to the point where I feel like I did back when I was younger.
Nice.
And those nerves and that self-loathing dialogue has subsided, man. It just feels a lot more natural and back to where it was before.
That's good. And so are you feeling like the anticipation of putting something out? Is there any nerves about the response, or are you actually feeling quite at peace at the moment with just like, oh man, this is like the music I want to make. It felt great to make it, and you're just at peace. You just let it be what it is. You just put it out in the world and let's just see what happens, sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel I've never felt more at ease and at peace with what I'm doing. Like, this is 100% exactly the music that I wanted to be making.
Yep.
For a while there, it was very much up in the air. I didn't know what I was still trying to figure out what kind of sound I was wanting to make. It was like I was really trying to prove myself as a rapper. Like, yes, I might have gone the poppy route, but I can still rap. And I was trying to really force that instead of just being me.
Yeah.
I went back to the old thing of like, oh no, I've got to prove I am this person to other people.
Yeah, word.
And that's just faded away and become now just embracing who I am again.
Yeah, nice. And so after Falling and Flying, do you feel that that's what happened? Which is kind of ironic because it's like you'd already proved that so like clearly in just the underground mixtape world. It was almost undeniable. And in the battle scene, which is like the rawest sort of version of like just rap and stuff, and dominated in that. So, which is the one thing that made it so cool. That's what we're always saying, like the juxtaposition of that with then crossing over into the pop world is the only reason the pop thing worked anyway. Because if it was just some corny pop dude, then everyone would just be like, what is this? But it was because of the rawness and the edginess and the fact that it truly seemed like you did not give a fuck about anything wholeheartedly. That was what was so cool. It was authentically just like, man, it's just, that's what made it interesting. But then you were still felt that just the backlash got to you. Is that what happened? Like it sort of took its toll?
Yeah, and I think once the career got launched up and it was suddenly around like in major labels where there's like a team, there's teams working for you, like there's producers, there's writers, there's all this stuff there. And I was so new to it all. It was like before I had this confidence to just make the music I make, and that was, that's how we do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Then suddenly it's like being surrounded by all these people who know best, and they're
all giving you their opinion, and this is what blah blah. Yeah, absolutely.
They knew what I should do, and I didn't. Like I was like, I'm too new to this to know what I should be doing. It was a mix of heaps of people doing that too. So it was like,
definitely.
I suddenly started just really doubting myself for some reason, and probably reckon that's a byproduct of using drugs and
for sure
not remaining strong and healthy. And just letting that noise start dictating, like starting to seep in again, thinking that I needed to appease them rather than just do what I felt like doing.
Definitely.
And that sort of took over for a long time, probably till now, to be honest. I feel like that really, it became another thing of me trying to prove myself to other people, trying to make certain sounds like, yes, I've gone the poppy route, but I've also can do the trap thing, and just like, probably just not sticking to my guns of who I actually am. I've always had that, man. I've always like gone through moments of having identity crises and then having these moments of realizing, oh no, just being me is what it's about. Yeah. And then really...
Which everyone does to some degree. And I can definitely relate to that, because obviously the same thing happened at the front end. Like when we put Festival Song out, it goes from us just making songs. We made mixtapes in our bedroom, made the album in the bedroom. Like we're just sort of like mucking around. There's no agenda other than our own thing that we want to do. And then suddenly you're in boardrooms. Suddenly there's all this other stuff. And then there's all this pressure and all this expectation, and it gets really weird. There's all these other opinions, not to mention then the world starts telling you. It's really, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I always found it so much easier to listen to the negative voices than the positive ones for some reason. Like it literally took until now, like stepping away from music, having a family, doing all those things that were so much more important, and then coming back to music with this lightness and this love, like that felt like back at the very start, to then be able to even look at certain songs or achievements and be like, man, I don't think I even processed any of the nice or positive stuff, because that lens that you're looking through, it's just looking for the bad stuff. Like I could put a song out and you look at it and be like, there could be 100 or 1,000 comments and all these people are saying like all this really nice stuff, and I just would look for the one comment when someone's like, oh, this sucks, and I'm like, yeah, see, I knew it, I'm a piece of shit, I'm terrible. Like, and it would just sort of, it was bizarre. To now, then you look at it and you're like, oh man, it's like so nice. I'm real grateful. I never realized that or whatever. Yeah. It's so weird. So I don't know if you experienced the same thing where you start to kind of.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, to be honest. Like it's almost like this imposter syndrome thing where people are saying all this nice stuff, but you think they're lying. I don't know where that comes into it. It's just like you lose the zeal or something that you had.
For me, the imposter syndrome definitely came, and that was always like a segue into the subject of God, or like moving from at that place from we're just, you're atheist, whatever you are. But it was like the one thing that was weird to me was sometimes when we were writing music was this experience of feeling like something else came in. We used to almost laugh about it. There's times we'd be in the zone together and we'd be like, oh, there's the fourth Rizzi energy, and it felt like something comes down, and then we just plug in and it just, all this stuff starts happening or whatever, right? So I always felt like, what is that thing? what's happening there? Like there's got to be more to just the material world than what we're sort of led to believe, because it was just always a bit out of body and a bit weird. And there's times when it would flat out feel like it just comes in and just literally goes, there you go. Boom. It just like downloads this thing to you. So that always felt like same thing. Like you go into the board meeting and it's like, all right, all we need you to do is do another festival song. And you're like, yeah, awesome, man. I don't know how I did that festival song, because it was like, I wasn't sitting there going, all right, I'll do A plus B, and that it was like we're just vibing, laughing, and then suddenly it just goes, there you go. That's why it worked, because it's authentic. It doesn't feel that like hack writery contrived thing. You know, we know artists that do that. Like it's like it becomes a formula. They try and pander to it, and you see through it. Like it feels, I feel like you're trying to pull one over me as the listener. You're trying to give me what I want, and it feels forced. It feels hacky. Whereas when it comes from that other place, it has this magic to it that you can't quite explain. But that's what was weird for me, because it was like, well, I don't know where it comes from when it does come. It just seems like this gift. So when there's this pressure in a board meeting to be like, all right, you need to do that again. It's like, man, this is really intense, because this is not how you make music. Like, did you fall into that? Like trying to, sure. Yeah, you did. I remember I did the game, right? So obviously it was really unwell with the Graves thing. Pretty much stepped away from music then. Like it was weird dealing with that. Got tagged in the rapper tag thing, so had to do that. Yeah. I remember you like hit me up like, you know, you can do it, and I was like terrified. I was like, man, I haven't written like whatever. I was so scared. Started writing funny raps, and also started writing about what was going on. Was like, which one do I choose? Might have been you. Someone was just like, just do both. So I was like, oh yeah, didn't even think of that. And then I remember, man, like I was trying to record it into the computer, and I would get so scared, like so nervous about, oh man, I'm gonna have to put myself out there. I'd be like halfway through doing the take, and like the anxiety would kick in. It's like my throat would start like closing over, like goodness. Just like shutting down as you're doing it. So there's parts in that video where I put things in to just deliberately give myself a break to like try and breathe and get it. So there's like little bits where I do like this funny actions or whatever. Yeah. I used to have because of that. I would do it just to be like, I can do I'll try and mask it, and I'll try and quickly breathe and like get the anxiety to go. And then I'd do another section, and it was real weird, man. But it was like, I feel like we should give them a bit of context of what happened with that, because that was like a huge thing that I don't think people really understand what happened with the Graves' disease. Like right. you with when you dropped the festival song, and you just went bang, and you were smashing it, and you were supporting all the international acts. When did it start coming in? It seemed to start kind of early in the piece, man. Like it might have even been nearly beginning to be underway. Oh, maybe it wasn't in the film clip, but just after. But definitely certain symptoms started to happen that were kind of weird. Like my eyes definitely started to, it's like you're so hyperactive, everything's so wound up. I would like get palpitations where you're like shaking, because everything's kind of like on adrenaline. You start to sweat. Oh yeah, so palpitations, like you feel your heart just like doing that. You shake, sweat, would just eat endlessly, but you just burn energy. So I was getting kind of skinny, kind of gaunt. And then my eyes started to get, it's like your eyes start almost bulging and looking weird. Your lids come back because everything's like on such adrenaline. So that's when every time we go out, everyone would always think I'm on Eckies or whatever. And you're like, man, it's not that. It's like this Graves thing. So that was like, yeah, totally bizarre. And then kind of, I guess, was trying to deal with that. Obviously it was real scary. They're kind of like, you got to take these drugs or you're going to die and all that stuff. And then went kind of did all sorts of weird things, like more alternative things, and managed to turn it around. But it's something that is meant to be incurable. Like, aren't they meant to? They said, you have that forever. You're going to die if you don't have these drugs. So we went and I did all sorts of stuff. Went and got all intravenous vitamin C, and then would sort of go off and did homeopathics, did all these things that they sort of mocked. But then also even went, like, instead of maybe it's thyroxine or the different sort of, I guess, synthetic drug they want to give you to replace the hormone, would go and do, you know, a herbal version of that, and then change my diet, looked at a lot of different things, and seemed to start to be able to reverse it. And it was a pretty weird time. But I remember doing that, and same as like you were saying before, like you're so scared to upload it. I was like, I'm about to be ripped to shreds. And then there was all this sort of support, which I don't even know if I fully processed. But then I had to do a single for the label, and I did one song, and it was The Game. It was the only song I'd done, and I was like, I didn't want to put it out. I remember it was Glenn Dickey was the A&R at the time, who was a legend, and he like took it off me. He's like, it's okay, it's all right, it's going to do really well. And I'm like, no, like I was trying to stop him putting it out, and he's like, no, it's going to be fine. And then same thing, like put it out, and it went gold. It did really well, and everyone's like, oh, he's coming back. I'm like, I hadn't even written any other songs. And I remember that feeling of a comment in the boardroom of like, oh, it's good, but it's very PEZ. It feels like we need to get you doing some more modern things. And that seemed to really stay with me. Like the idea of like you're saying, like very PEZ, like so being who you actually are
is wrong.
If there's something wrong with that, we need to change that. And then just being like, you start working with all these other people that you have no chemistry with, and you're trying to do something. Super weird, man. It's horrible. That's the one thing you'd almost want to say to artists. Hey, it's like, if you're getting into that game, it's already hard, particularly in this age. It's like so cookie cutter. It feels like all the new shit, everyone's just literally playing a role. Everyone's trying to do the same thing. Maybe it's really moving in that direction. But the feeling of like if you do get off the ground or any of that, like having some sort of support network to have your back and sort of keep your feet on the ground so you remember who you are as you go through it, because it can get super weird otherwise. Once all these other voices come in, and then you listen to what people say, and like how much that can mess up the creative process until it gets so contrived.
And going with your gut, like what you know, like what would have gotten a person there in the first place.
I know, that's the weirdest thing, eh? Like doing what you sort of trusting that is what gets you there. But then once you get there, everyone thinks they know better and wants to tell you what you need to do. And
then you start thinking
unless you got balls, unless you really back yourself, and you're like, or you guys could shut up and just let me do what I do.
Yeah.
And I'll come to you when I'm ready. You know, that's very...
Then you're rewarded for that.
Yeah.
Like if you're not swayed by that outside influence and you stick to your guns, you get rewarded for that every time. And I feel like you see that with a lot of artists.
Definitely. Yeah.
Man. So were you touring off the game?
Yeah, I shouldn't have been touring though, because I was like not really ready.
Because you were sick still, yeah?
And then that's the same thing. You're suddenly getting a manager. You're doing all these things that like, that was so overwhelming, man. And even that was the wrong decision. Like I remember.
What was the wrong decision?
So the booking agent I had, shout out to Randall, he was like a dude, and he was like coming up and wanted to manage me. And like my gut was to go with him because I'm like, I trust him. I feel comfortable. And it's like, that's probably I'm more comfortable in that space, like make music in my little humble thing and be around people who I trust. But instead everyone's in your ear like, no, you need a bigger manager, you need this, you need that. And in the end, you make those fearful decisions. You're like, oh yeah. So then it's like, that I always regretted that because I'm like, that was never right for me. And then suddenly you're listening to them and then you're doing, and everything about it was contrived. Like when I look back at it, you're like, oh man. Because then I found all these songs that were made around the game after it. And some of them were like really dope. And one of them's like the best one I've never put them out. Looking at it, I'm like, man, that's so funny. Like the fear had got into that extent. There's this hard drive with all these songs that were like, these are actually cool. Like these are good. The game did well. What was I doing? Like at what point?
Yeah,
that's what it can do to you, man.
Man, I can remember it was like can't even remember how long. It felt like 10 years or even longer. It was just this cycle of like,
just darkness.
It's not being right.
Yeah.
And just that fear ruling everything.
Definitely.
But it's like to come to where you are now and the way, like watching the way you changed over the last couple years has been like really epic, man. And it's like cause people around to be like, is this actually happening for real this time? Like, is he actually back? Because he said this a few times, but then it's like you've made it clear. Like,
yeah, nice.
Like you've got this song with SO that you're like, I just know this is the one I've got to drop. And then people around you go, nah, dude, don't do that one. You know what I mean? And you could have easily fallen into like, oh, no, maybe not. But you just stuck to your guns and it paid off. Yeah, because everything had changed now when you step away, which I think you're in the same space, which is awesome. But it was like, I actually don't, I mean, there's no pressure. We're sort of not in the label anymore, but you get to this beautiful place where you're like, I actually don't care what you guys think or any of that. I'm like, I want to do this because this is,
you know, they'll come at you with all the strategic reasons why, or, oh, this is the things have changed, so you got to do this, to then, oh, the playlist. And I'm like, I don't actually care, man. Like, I actually just want to do something. This is what I want to do. This is where I'm at in my life. I know that there's a million reasons why you shouldn't do this, but I think this is really playful and fun, and this is kind of what I want to do. Like, I actually want to relate to people who are where I'm at in life, any of that stuff. And then it's very liberating feeling to just be like, you're kind of happy with whatever happens. You're comfortable with, like, it might not work. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel convicted. This is what I feel like I'm meant to do, which that's awesome if that's how now you're feeling. I mean, it is kind of like a banger of a song that you're about to put out. And as you're saying, it's like funny. It's like the last song you've made with Ty. Yeah. And it's like, feels like, oh, this is a banger. This will come out first. And you're like, now you're just like starting to lock in with him. And you're like, I wish we could just keep writing right now. It feels like we get them haymakers going, but he's like got other commitments. This is done. It's like, it's funny how that happens, but
yeah, watching the way he's progressed from when we first started doing the album to now, it's just like, whoa, man, he's like the craziest writer I've probably been in the room with. I've been in a room with really talented people, but his ability to write melodies and produce is just insane. Like, it is literally crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like if the biggest writers in the world had him, they'd be set. They don't need anything, because he can do anything, man.
That's dope. But do you feel like part of it is it actually just takes a little bit of time to develop that chemistry? Like, to actually, it's not just like a formula. You don't just kind of, maybe sometimes it can be, but it's like, even on Falling and Flying, was it a similar thing? Like, when you were in with Styles, did that take a little while to kind of like, what was the process like then versus with Ty? Was it similar? Because I guess that's that same idea. Like, if you're with a talented enough producer writer, then just pretty much with the two of you, you can start to really make something pretty special. Like, did it take a bit of, how different were those two processes?
It was like with Styles, I remember we started writing, and it took us about probably a year, maybe 6 months even, to just really find a real flow. But I remember the first 3 songs we made were bangers. Like, they were real poppy, very Lily Allen kind of inspired.
That's right. Yeah. Which is the ones you actually brought into the EMI meeting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They're the ones that got,
and they didn't even
get signed.
But they didn't even end up on the record.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
And then after we really made a few songs, then we just hit the ground running. It was like, oh, here we go. It's starting to really make some crazy sounds that were just like, well, what is this? You know, this is different. This is fresh. Something special about it. Same thing happened with Ty. Like, I did most of those songs, those 6 songs I did were with him, but they were really just me trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't really know that he was capable of writing melodies. I was like trying to write my own. I was looking for other people to try and help me. And then he was like, oh, I'll do some. And everything I was looking for was just right underneath me the whole time.
Yeah.
But then I feel like it was just the timing of it was perfect anyway, because it's like I had to get those out. I had to shake those songs out of myself to get myself back to the belief again, to have that belief in myself, the lack of nerves and all that.
Yeah.
And then we just locked in, and man, from the first song we made, it was like, oh, this is
everything's
really good.
Gone up a level now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really interesting going back and listening to Falling and Flying, listening to Utopia, and then listening to this. It's like my raps, man. It's very bizarre how I've been very slow to progress as a rapper. Like, I used to over project my voice, and you can really notice it. It almost sounds a bit. It's like listening back. It's kind of funny to listen to. It's like, wow, I really sounded like that. Like, I thought I was very comfortable then, and now listening to the new album, it's like, oh, this is finally sounding like stuff that if I heard it, I feel like I probably wouldn't laugh at it.
you find in your voice, like you actually, is a weird thing.
But it's taken me that long. Like I'm 38, man. Like most rappers have some success when they're 16 or 18 or something like that, and they find themselves maybe in their early 20s.
They figure it out,
and they'll have that voice and the projection down. I didn't get it till now.
Yeah, I relate to that, bruh.
Which is wild.
Just going back to like when you're talking about building the chemistry with Styles and then with Ty, has he always written melodies, or did you just didn't know? So it was once you almost just asked him and then on a song he showed that? Because I know even with Jay, as I've been doing all this new music and stuff, it was very similar where I had to actually prod him at the start to be like, man, I feel like I'd hear him sing sometimes. And I'm like, man, I think you actually could like sing, you should try and write melodies. And it like took a while to get the confidence going. But once it started to happen, then it was like, man, you actually got a great talent here. You should explore this, like which Styles always used to do back in the day. And it was like, even if you don't use it, like when you're writing the beat, if you're like in the flow and you hear something, you should put it down. And then we might use it, we might not. I'll try and write mine. Do you feel like, would Ty then start to pretty much, is that how he would do it? He'd like try and write a track, he'd send it to you, it has a guide melody or something. And then for how you write to it, how do you respond? Like sometimes has it almost already got a concept in it, and like, or you love the hook and you're like, oh, that's it, it's clear what you have to write about, or you then sit with it and go, what do I want to write about on this sort of song? Like, or is it totally kind of fluid and it just changes every single time? You don't really know what's going to take place, you just let it happen.
I remember when we were talking about making the album, I was like, I want to get this album right, and the boys were like, oh, we'll just send you Ty beats and you can write to them. And I was like, nah, I want to do stuff in the studio. Like I want to be there in the process, making everything together.
Yeah.
Like all of my best stuff has been
done in that way.
Yeah. Where it's like,
because that's the chemistry thing, eh? Something flows through in the room when you're there together.
Yeah. So we started doing that, and we just go through samples, and we like go through like 5. I'm gonna go through like 10, pick 5 that we like, and then we pick the best one and just start making a beat out of it, just a skeleton. And then Ty would start coming up with melodies for it. But at the start, he hadn't really, he didn't, I don't think he really believed in himself fully, because he was like, oh, we need someone to sing this, man. My voice is not good. And I was like, I really love his voice. I feel like he's really nailed it. I understand where he's coming from though. Like he wants it to be perfect. Like he's got a vision for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I think if the vision he has was nailed, it would be insane.
Yep.
But as we got going, he really came into his element, and he's just found his feet, and it's just been so incredible to watch him evolve and blossom, man. Like he's just so insanely talented. Any sound, anything. But we'd write these choruses. It would either be quite gibberish, like the first Broken one was just, you could get the feel of it.
Yep. Don't worry too much about the lyrics. Just kind of sing out roughly what you're hearing, or like the vowels that you like. Yeah.
And then it very much is just, for me, I would just play the song over and over, do that sort of gibberish freestyle stuff over certain things, and then feel what would come. But a lot of the choruses would, like in Broken, it had, because I was broken, that was the main bit. Then there was all the little da-da-das between.
But it kind of gives you the theme. You're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting. A lot of the stuff comes out, if you first heard the hook, you would think it was about a girl. And then suddenly I'm making it about either my dad or something like that. You know, it's like I'm thinking of ways to make these songs that aren't typical.
Yeah. How can I just find a slightly different angle or take or something interesting or whatever?
Yeah. Like how can I express what's happening in my life right now and talk about whatever is genuine to me, rather than trying to like make a girl song or something like that. And they've all just turned out, it's really turned out really special.
Do you think just the inspiration and if the connection's there? Because even like, so doing like, because I'd just done the verse for your album and stuff like that. The original song you wanted me on was the Wings one. And I was really trying, but I was like, and then I think I came to your house that one time and you were playing Broken instead. And I'd come in like the room and it's like I didn't have perspective on like the key of the song or whatever. And I was like listening to it as in like, oh, you must be playing Wings. But I was like, oh man, is that like a new section of it or something? That's dope. And then you're like, no, this is a different song, man. And I was like, oh man, I wish I could write to that one, like or whatever. And then you're like, oh, you can if you want. Like, do you want to try and write to that? And I was like, even that felt like probably in the past, I would have tried to keep forcing writing
Wings.
to a song where it's not happening. I'd be mad at myself. So I'd be like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I? Oh, it's me. I got writer's block. I got this comes with this whole dialogue of stuff rather than recognizing, which Jay, who I work with, as we've sort of developed this chemistry, that's one thing that he even felt like he worked through on the production front. He would hit it like a tough day or 2 tough days and be like, that used to come with a dialogue of, oh, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And eventually he started to recognize like, oh, it just wasn't my day. It's okay. Just like keep coming back. And eventually, and it was like real beautiful. So he would sort of like instill that into me because he really, I guess, was with me through a pretty dark phase of me struggling to write. It was actually a really important catalyst of like, I would go to his house and he'd like got me that War of Art book, certain things. He was always kind of trying to like just push me in like all these things that eventually it started to sink in that feeling of just like follow the inspiration because when it actually happens, it starts to do it for you. So even just that helped because I was like, as soon as the Broken, I heard that instead.
You were led there.
It like activated something that I was able to recognize. So as soon as you're like, maybe write to that instead.
I feel like it's one of the best verses off the album, man.
You reckon? I don't.
For sure. It's
Yeah,
like dude, there is so many people are going to listen to that verse that are in a similar space that we're going through at the moment and are going to connect with that so much. Like Pat was blown away by it, man.
Really? That's dope.
It is very special.
Yeah, mad.
And it's interesting too, like we were going to try and pad it out with little melodic sections and stuff like that. And they just didn't, it almost took away the vulnerability
right
of the verse. It was really interesting, man.
Just leave the rawness.
Yeah.
That's certainly something coming full circle. It feels like you start to embrace that. Like I'd definitely start to recognize that in artists that I love or any of that. It was like the imperfections sometimes are actually what make it perfect rather than trying to make it perfect. Sometimes you over sanitize it and you start to take some of the magic out. So it's trying to walk this line where you like leave some of that stuff. Like that's kind of also what makes it feel a bit special and human. Maybe it's that, particularly in this era, the modern era, when everything can be tuned, everything can be melodined, everything can be this.
Too polished.
Gets too polished. So it almost becomes like refreshingly authentic to hear something that's more human and isn't as, I don't know.
Kanye did that really well, like leaving
Definitely,
little
man.
flaws and like he'd run out of breath even and he just
on those
on
those albums that we love. Like even when you think about man, remember that? Like when we went to see him at Festival Hall?
Oh, dude, that lit a fire in us. And it was amazing that it was at Festival Hall.
Yeah.
And we're watching that like, this is the dream.
Yeah, yeah.
How many years later,
And
we're
you played,
up there.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely, man.
Like you were supporting Bliss and Esso, remember that?
Yep. There would have been quite a few shows. You definitely had.
Insane, man.
Yeah, it was wild.
And we did it. Like we said we were going to do that. You said we can do this, and then we did it, man.
Yeah, it was weird time. How is that? How has that felt? Like, I guess that even going from that journey when we're like, you're in the crowd, you sort of, you know, you want what they've got up there. So maybe there is this like sort of preoccupation or like fascination with fame or success. Maybe you think of that as success. Like once you're up there, you get all the things. So like wanting that, like what you think it's going to be, maybe, to then when you actually get it, to now, like what was that journey like for you, I guess? Because you definitely dealt with fame, and I feel like off the back end of all of the drug stuff and the paranoia, like that was a pretty sort of the dark side of it. So like what was that?
Yeah, it's like you look up to these artists who are famous and they've like got girls and they've got money, and it's just like
I want that. Clearly that's going to make me happy. Yeah.
That is going to that's going to be, once I have that, I'll be fine, you know, I'll be good.
Yeah.
So you bust your chops to attain that, and then you get it. And it's like reaching any big goal that you have. It's like incredible. You reach it and you're like, oh, I can't believe I actually did that. Like we far exceeded what I actually had written in my goals. But then that lasts for like a minute, you know? Like you feel that satisfaction of reaching a goal, but then it's like, okay, what's next?
What's next? It's weird, isn't it?
Let's go for the next goal. Let's go for something bigger. It has to be bigger and better. This time, if I do it double that, I'll be content. It's always about trying to reach contentment. Is contentment a word?
Contentment is.
Regretment isn't.
Regretment isn't. Yeah. let's digress and talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
Because no one will know about that reference, but that's a good one.
And it was, man, life became about reaching these little fleeting moments of satisfaction, like getting fame, getting money, getting status, sex and girls, all that kind of thing. Everything was like chasing it, getting it, acquiring it, realizing it's not the answer.
Deflated, go again.
Yeah. Keep looking. It was like everything was just this coping mechanism to get by.
Did you have a point of realization where you're like, this ain't it? Or do you feel like most people can kind of live in that perpetual cycle and just not almost unawares and just stay on the treadmill?
Most people, think that that's the way you've got to live.
That's just what life is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just unsustainable. I think finding God is the
real thing that everyone's looking for.
The only thing that's not temporary.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that has brought me true joy, peace and happiness that is actually sustained and it doesn't run out.
Because it's from the eternal, the infinite, the limitless, which makes sense.
Yeah.
In this temporary world sort of thing. Like.
Yeah. And like we've been around like so many famous people and it's all the same thing, man. They're all like reaching for that.
Definitely, man. That's one of the most, I definitely had a pretty sudden disillusionment with the whole thing, but that was definitely one of the things that stood out to me when we got to, like, obviously the issue with celebrity culture and just idolatry in general, but like because you get to meet all these people that the world glorifies, so that, you know, the way they present themselves or the person they're purported to be versus you see them behind the scenes. And like a lot of them are just not very good people. Like there are hella narcissistic people, which it makes me wonder sometimes whether that's almost like a prerequisite because they're so self-involved, they're so consumed with self. That's part of the drive that gets them there in the first place, because it's this relentless obsession with self in the pursuit of it, rather than at some point realizing there's more to life and actually starting to give your attention to other things. Like maybe that's part of why they're there, but that was definitely always weird to me. And sometimes people would say that in the crowd, they'd be like, oh, you're actually like a really nice person. Like, oh, you're so down to earth. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, isn't that what everyone should be like? Like they're so used to just people being sort of this entitled douchebag or whatever. It's a real weird thing and quite confronting. And then also an extra sort of funny or just like revealing thing about the point of life that we're now in, because we've been around a lot of people that go through the 20s, like the period where it is everything. You maybe don't have any, it's, you know, that's the kind of golden period of it all. And now that it's starting to run out, like you're coming to the tail end of it, and you watch some of them like hanging on for dear life or having an identity crisis, because it's like, oh, I used to feel like I was someone, like this was everything, and now you're not. Life moves on, the world moves on, and it becomes this weird,
it's really sad to watch some people.
It can be very sad.
Like it's like you can tell the entire reason they're making music is to try and get that status
is
back
for that stuff
that they once had. It's like each single is a Hail Mary trying to get it back again.
Yeah.
And if it keeps going wrong for some of them, you can see how much it's really affecting them. Like this is determining whether they're happy or not. And it's like so clear that that's not the way.
Yeah.
And it's also like, it's kind of, we live in a time where idolatry and things like fame Like you look at social media, man, like think about how hard that would have been to grow up as a teenager through that, where so much importance is placed on having heaps of followers and getting clout and validation from all these other people. Like,
yeah, it's weird, man.
How that is affecting the world, especially impressionable young kids, to think that that is what is important. It's just getting worse and worse. Like it was already quite, a lot of people grew up thinking being famous is the answer.
Believe that lie, definitely.
Yeah. And then now it's even more amplified with social media and stuff like that, that it's just, it's really conditioning a lot of our society and young generation into thinking that's what's going to make them happy. And it just leads down a dark path, you know?
Definitely. And also just the kind of airbrushed version of reality that you get on it. Because usually, like, I know that I always discuss that with my wife. Like sometimes when I'd look at her feed and the things she's looking at, and that there's a very sort of unfair assault on just like womanhood anyway. Like the idea of wanting to be a mother's kind of almost demonized in the modern culture and all that sort of stuff. But if she's looking at it, a lot of the so-called, you know, stay-at-home mums, it's like they've got this perfect life and everything's, the house is so perfect, and then they've still got this side hustle business that's also $1 million thing, and it's like this constant assault on like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Like every time you look at it, it sort of makes you feel like shit. Like, oh, they've got, their life's so perfect and mine isn't. So it's like you do get this airbrushed version of, and it's like, man, life's not really like that. Like it's all a mirage. And it's like, the quicker you figure that out, it's like that Jim Carrey quote where he was saying that about like, you wish that everyone could actually get all the things that they think they want, like all this superficial stuff, so that they could realize that it's not it. Like it's not actually it. Because then the moment that happens, you start looking for something deeper and realer and all that stuff, which leads to God. That's the only thing. You sort of, when all that falls away, it's it's definitely.
Money is great to have. Like if you've got it, it brings a lot of freedom to be able to do stuff, but it definitely doesn't make you happy. Like,
and help people, like really, like it's a good tool for like, exactly like you're saying, like it can create freedom. That's one thing I learned like real quickly when you like have a family, and like straight away there's this sense of like this innate shift into like purpose to provide. Like you'd do anything, you'd die for your family, you work 80 hours a week if you got to do whatever, absolutely. And I've found a lot of joy in that. Like even just actually, I was like, man, I used to be so afraid of this. I thought this was the enemy. Like we've got to make sure we don't work, you know, that's the dream sort of thing. Where now I'm like, no, there's a lot of beauty in that. But yes, if you have more financial freedom, what it really would mean is I could just have more time with my wife and kids, like, which is actually really desirable. Or you can then help people that are less fortunate, or your other family or friends, or that, which is rather than being broken at the mercy of the system, it's desirable, but it's not the be all and end all. When it's your God, like you see people where money's their God, status, those things, and it's like, it's
they have all the things.
They have the stuff,
but they're still clawing to find a cure for life, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
It's just never sustained. It's never permanent. It's this just fleeting moment of satisfaction constantly.
Yeah. Deep. Let's end on one funny thought before we wrap it up for this week, was because you touched on regretment before. What was that reference in? Because we were almost joking about that before, that like part of what made it so good when we came together was that I was probably always an overthinker, or had that sort of more perfectionisty, like you, which is probably fear-based thing, but you're trying to do that. And you were the polar opposite, where you were just like, couldn't wait to get it out. You're just like, man. So like if we met in the middle somewhere where there's times then I could be like, yeah, man, I get it, but let's just do this and this and this. And we'd sort of push and pull in the middle somewhere. But I would be the person that would be still trying to hold on to it. And eventually you're like, nah, bro, let's get it out. So it was like when that balance was right, it's beautiful. And then there would be times that you like the polar opposite to me, to the point where you like, what were you saying? You like, you just didn't even care. There's times you just like, man, I want to say this punchline. I'll have this, you tell it, this setup. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it doesn't matter. Like the punchline.
Making up words.
You're all making up words.
Making up words, and just for the sake of rhyming it, and just say, that'll do. No one will know.
Yeah, that was
and they don't. Like most of the times they don't, unless you actually say a word like regretment. You know?
Which was, well, that was on the mixtape. I can't remember what it was. And you had, the setup was, or within there was the word regretment. And I was like, regretment?
What does that mean? Do you mean resentment?
Yeah. And you're like, But that's what I mean. You didn't give a fuck to the point that you were just like, it's close enough though, isn't it? Like you were going to leave it. And in the end I was like, it got to a point I'm like, bruh, are you going? You going with regretment? And you're like, all right, I'll change it. But it was like, that was so dope that it was like that was perfect, because it was like you did not care, man. Like to that point where I would be like having a heart attack, the thought of like, oh, but if I said that and it's not a thing and then someone's going to say something, it's going to look so stupid. You're just like fearless, man. It was just like,
man.
Nah. It was like you conceded in the end to be like, all right, I'll change it, man, if it makes you happy. So
yeah, like it didn't do it just to be correct.
No, it was just like, all right, mate, I'll just shut this dude up so I can get the mixtape out or whatever.
Oh man, I've done that a few times.
It's good.
Like knowledges from colleges. Like I was gaining knowledges like it was a substance. You know?
And plural, like getting more knowledge than just singular knowledge. I'm getting, I'm loading up on knowledges, man. Like that's really good. All right, well, I guess let's wrap it up for this week, hey, babe?
Yep.
It was a good yang up. Much love to anyone out there who's listening and or watching on YouTube. If you're vibing with us, you can like, you can subscribe, you can join us on this journey as we unpack some endless old school stories and go on a new journey through music, babe.
Yep, and hit us up with any type of questions or any themes, subjects that you want us to talk about. We'll go anywhere.
That's it. On them socials, mate. Get us with those questions. We should almost maybe have a segment where we can actively answer some of that stuff as we go.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll add the Q&A at the end and we'll go through all of your stuff.
Yep. Maybe even look at having some guests at some point. So if there's anyone you think you might want us to talk to, throw it out there.
Yep.
And then we'll get ready to release some more music over these next months, man. You kind of excited about that? How many singles you reckon you're going to go with?
Got 7 before the album comes out.
Dope.
And then I want to do probably another 7.
All right.
There won't be all singles, but there'll be some rap songs out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I just want to just flood the market, cuz.
Yeah, that's it. I'll try and do the same thing, finishing a new banger with Jayskis real soon. So it'll be like, yeah, be good to get some out there too. Hopefully we can get that 4th Rizzi tour happening at some point.
100% that is happening.
It'll be wild.
And then it'll just be Forthwrite.
Forthwrite.
The whole time.
That's it. Podcast, Forthwrite music. It's coming at you, babe. All right. Peace out.
Peace
out,
see you
next week.